Listen, if you don't have HR in the deal early, then you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Today, HR is a strategic function. It's time deal makers started treating it like one. I'm here with Steven. He's led HR, corporate development, and M&A for a bunch of different global corporations. Steven, you want to make a quick introduction?
Yes, thanks, Kisan, and thanks for having me on this. Stephen Rosenberg, I started out in investment banking, ultimately went to the buy side, worked for a bunch of global strategics across Fortune 1000s, where I led corporate development through the diligence M&A phase. So I know both sides of the coin there. And now I consult for both the buy and the sell side on transactions.
Hey, can you walk me through the HR component of doing M&A? Like when should you get HR involved?
Yep, I would love to. And yeah, this has been evolving over the last decade or so after so many companies have seen deals just not work out. And why doesn't it work out? You got to really think about the methodology and the workflow of a transaction at a buy side, at a strategic. And you have someone who leads corporate development, you have your CEO and the executive committee, and you have your business leaders, right? And so there's strategic rationale to do a deal. There's a strong desire from the CEO and the executive committee to get a deal done, but there happens to be a breakdown as you go through the different work flows within an organization, especially when it comes to HR. And over the last decade, it's been shown, and if you can go back 2 decades, it's really been shown, but it's shown that a lot of times HR gets pulled in later in the cycle of a deal. So you'll sit down and you'll get the initial approval from your executive committee to pursue a deal, maybe do an indication of interest to get more insight into a company. You'll have the business leaders buy in to pursue it further. You'll get finance involved to look at the financials, right? And to give you somewhat of a green light and to show you where the red flags are. But then HR comes in kind of later on when you might sign an LOI and now you got a clock ticking to get a deal done. And you'll then clue in HR and saying, hey, we need you to have someone look into the data room and to diligent what's going on with the people side of the deal, what the costs are for the people, what the benefits are, what the employee agreements look like. And you're giving them a clock to work on, and they're just not ready for it. And so what I've been kind of educating both corporate development CEOs and CHROs are that HR needs to have a seat at the deal table. And what I mean by that is they need to be there early. In fact, they need to be sitting in on the pipeline readouts. Where are we? What are we looking at? Why are we looking at these companies? Because I think when HR really understands the culture of the other organizations that they're potentially looking at acquiring and can actually give feedback, that's extremely important intel to the corporate development, to the business leaders, right? They might know something about these companies. They might know where there could be issues with how these companies will come together. They will think about integration planning from the people side. Technology, when you're buying IP, that's one thing, but a lot of times strategics are buying an organization that has not just a tech stack, but has a people stack, right? There's a human operating system of an organization. And when deals don't follow some efficient process from early on where people are core to that deal, it breaks down. And it breaks down in a lot of ways. Like the house, you're buying the old house and you didn't have the inspectors come in early enough. And you start getting leaks and you didn't know this was broken, or you didn't know the boiler was about to blow, or you didn't know the roof was about to go. That's how a deal can go bad. There's so many red flags and dangers that come from the people side. When they're pulled in late, there's no communication that's proper internally. Externally, the integration plan is hurried and not done correctly. And people just get upset. People have emotions. Employees have emotions. And the earlier you could plan for that, the better. But you also need, and it's fair enough, corporate development will tell you that, well, HR needs to understand how a deal gets done. And that's what I go out and do as well, as I go speak at conferences or I speak to, HR leaders and really prepare them for what a deal is about, educate them so they feel confident sitting at the deal table.
Do you have an example of a deal where HR got involved early and the impact that's made?
I learned through trial and error and learning all this that the deal runs more smoother, and you might have had a lot more negotiating power, and you might have not even done a deal sometimes if HR was brought in earlier. So I bought a company, or not myself, but I led a deal for a company that had 12 subsidiaries around the world. So you had people in many different parts of the world that had many different employee agreements. Was taxes paid? Were taxes not paid? Were there issues with the culture of the organization that we were acquiring? But I brought them in early enough that we captured a lot of red flags that, one, caught some serious issues with the deal that we were able to tackle and mitigate early enough to save some things, caught some culture clashes that actually changed the way the company was going to be integrated and led from the top down. And really was able to set the integration plan early enough and communication plan early enough that it ran amazingly smooth. Where I could tell you, if we brought them in just a bit later, maybe 2 weeks later, it would have been, I wouldn't say a disaster, but certain things would have not been called. When you look at the business case and the synergy, how we're going to realize the synergies and the payoff of this, the return on the investment, we would have probably been a year in the hole, at least.
How do you tie the people strategy directly to the deal success metrics?
So look, as we all know, there's deals done where you're looking at the synergies of a deal. And some of those synergies could be headcount. There's duplication, right? We're buying the same team we already have. There's going to be some sort of management of resources that we save costs by duplication. There's one way to tie that to, when the company gets integrated, how soon you do it, and how you manage it. That's one. Two, there's retention. That, again, is very strategic to the deal. And there's KPIs that you align to that. Did we retain these people in the right way? Also, the cost of retaining. There's a cost factor. Did those costs align to the plan that we put together in the business case? And then there's attrition. Those are big KPIs as well. Are we retaining the employees over year 1, year 2, year 3? And I can clearly show, and, when they point to why deals fail, and there's those percentages, usually 90% of deals fail, and X% of that, of those failures are due to people. Well, why are you losing all these people? Not only are you losing them from the company acquiring, but you're losing them from the company that is the acquirer. And a lot of that is because you didn't do it early enough, you didn't do it often enough, and you didn't answer the right questions. And so KPIs are tied to all of that.
Do you have any specific strategies you use to ensure HR has both the voice and authority it needs at the table?
Yeah, it's a good one. And so look, like I said, I've been on the sell side, I've been on the buy side, I've been on the corporate development side. And because of some of the organizations I worked for, like Mercer, but Mercer, right, is health, wealth, and career. And they got a huge HR business. So I got to understand the HR business very well. And then I went to do consulting for Willis Towers Watson, another big, also health, wealth, and career business that had a big HR function. And so two things that need to be done. If I'm a corporation, I'm investing in my HR team. If we have a strategy to grow inorganically, I'm investing in the right people in HR to have their knowledge and their expertise invested in M&A, and not just HR M&A, but to know the whole deal process. How does a deal happen? Where does it start? What's the flow of a deal, right? What are all the stages? And so you got to invest in it. And then what I do, because I sat in the corporate development seat and I work on deals all the time, is I'm educating corporate development and I'm educating CEOs on the value of HR having a seat at the deal table. It's what I bang the drum on. CEO, executive committee needs to understand the value of having HR at the deal table early. You have your monthly readouts of the pipeline. Here we are. Here's the deals we're looking at. Here's where they are in the funnel. HR should be there asking the question or giving insight into it, having insight into that funnel. Now, I don't say the whole HR team, but the CHRO for sure, and who they might deem their right hand in HR deals. And so I speak of this thing of walking the talk. If they're educated on the deal process, they can do that.
If HR only shows up with onboarding checklists, the value is already lost. But when HR leads from the front, aligned with strategy and empowered at the executive level, it becomes the connective tissue that turns intent into impact. If you found this helpful, drop a comment and let us know what topics you want us to cover next or who you want to see on the show. And don't forget to follow for more real insights from deal makers in the field.